midnight in Harare, Zimbabwe, and Cape Town, South Africa. Here in Accra, it's 10 p.m. and live from the News Hub at Addis Ababa. This is News at 10 with me, Stephen Enti, and the major news highlights tonight. The minority in Parliament says the document on the security cooperation agreement between Ghana and the United States, which was laid in Parliament Tuesday, has not been signed and is procedurally flawed. A member of the Constitutional and Legal Committee, Nelson Dapiamakpo, is asking government to withdraw the document. And all 14 accused persons facing trial before an Accra High Court over the murder of Major Maxwell Mahama have pleaded not guilty to the charge of abetment of crime, conspiracy to commit murder and murder. The court took the pleas of the accused persons after it ensured they all had legal representation. And schools in Area in the Ashanti region remain closed 3 days after violent clashes between two youth groups in the area. Our correspondent Ibrahim Abubakar reports commercial activity is yet to fully resume despite the presence of the police. And the Ghana National Association of Teachers, NAT, is asking teachers not to join any strike after March 31st. In demand for salary arrears. Leadership of the association says it has signed a memorandum of understanding with the Ministry of Finance to raise a supplementary voucher to pay the arrears next week. Those were our major news highlights. Remember, we're streaming live on Facebook and on 3news.com. You can also hear us on 3FM 92.7. Up next is a big one. Welcome back. Now, the minority in Parliament says a document on the security cooperation agreement between Ghana and the United States, which was laid in Parliament Tuesday, has not been signed and is procedurally flawed. A member of the Constitutional and Legal Committee, Nelson Dapiamakpo, is asking government to withdraw the document.
On Tuesday, the Defense Minister laid a paper in Parliament on security cooperation agreement between Ghana and the United States of America. The agreement was referred to the Constitutional and Legal as well as Defense and Interior committees. On Wednesday, when the committee met with the Minister of Defense and Interior, it came to light that the memo accompanying the memoranda had not been signed. A member of the Constitutional and Legal Committee, Nelson Dapiamakpo, said the procedure by the executive is flawed.
The document they have brought to Parliament is neither an agreement nor is it a bill. So we are asking the government to do the appropriate thing. They should take back the memorandum, execute it, and bring it to Parliament for our ratification. They want to use the backdoor process to leave the agreement for Parliament to review, so that if there's a problem tomorrow, then Parliament will be blamed. Me, Roxy Nelson, I'm a lawyer, I'm wet my salt. It ought not to be accepted. Parliament is being hoodwinked. Nobody realized and raised the fundamental issue yesterday on the floor.
He says the minority will not be part of it if government does not withdraw the paper.
The legislature doesn't sign agreements. We don't participate in negotiating agreements. Yes, what they are doing, they are asking us to negotiate, to be part of the negotiation. It is not our role.
The South Dying MP said the security ministers at the committee meeting were struggling to justify the procedure used, but they will insist on the appropriate procedure.
The Defense Minister Dominic Nitiwul has launched a scathing attack on former Foreign Minister Hanna Tetteh for signing a bad defense agreement with the American government. Defending the defense agreement that has caught public attention, the minister says the MPP administration only sought to legitimize what was never in the interest of Ghana.
Saying to you that get these documents and read them and ask questions why Hanna Tetteh signed this without bringing it to the people of Ghana. It's like give more too. At the blind side of the people of Ghana, why do you go to sign? And the Americans base their preamble on this document that you have signed with us, so we are bringing a different agreement. You have also signed. If these documents were not there, I don't think the Americans would have based this agreement on this. They may have started from a lower angle.
That was the defense minister's first jab at what he describes as a hypocritical minority, contrary to claims by the minority that the agreement was new and would lead to the creation of a U.S. military base in Ghana. The defense minister Dominic Nitiwul said the erstwhile NDC government signed two previous agreements with the U.S. military, which gave unimpeded access to the U.S. military in Ghana.
So I can assure the people of Ghana that after this agreement, you will not even know the U.S. soldiers are in Ghana. Because they are confined. They are not like civilians who move around in town. They move by orders, and they are confined. So they come and do training for 2-3 weeks, and they go back. It is when you have a problem like disaster that you will see them come to help you because of this agreement. That's why you need friends. God forbid if somebody were to attack us, and because of this agreement, they will assist us. That's all that it means. That when we have a disaster, we have something we can say, oh, but this agreement, so you have the responsibility to come and assist us.
Dominic Nitiwul, while quoting portions of the agreement signed in 1998 and 2015, said the past NDC government had already committed the Ghana government to the agreement but failed to bring it to Parliament for ratification. The defense agreement with the military in the United States has come under intense scrutiny from the public, and experts say the deal is bad for Ghana. The defense minister also took the experts to the cleaners.
Attract terrorists into Ghana. Where were those particular security experts? They didn't see anything wrong when those things were signed. Why were they not saying it before? Why are they not criticizing the NDC government for signing secret documents when the people of Ghana didn't even know? Between the two governments, who is more responsible?
So if the government considered the deal signed by the past government as bad for Ghana, what significantly has changed this time around?
The fact that the U.S. cannot just come to Ghana, unlike the 98 one, and start holding guns outside, but that they will consult with the appropriate authorities, Minister of Interior, and that will not give them a blanket tax waiver, but that they will consult with the Minister of Finance and Parliament. And that they will not just bring their driver's license, but that they will consult with DVLA.
While Parliament's Defense and Interior Committee is deliberating on a controversial agreement, Information Minister Mustafa Hamid has this for the media.
You, the media, must also help us in calling the NDC out on this behavior, so that when they leak documents that are yet to be discussed in Parliament to you in order to generate a public discussion ahead of the Parliament, you tell them that this is not correct. You have the opportunity and the forum in Parliament. Please make your point in Parliament. After all, the media is always in Parliament.
Right, so let's get onto the telephone lines and speak with security expert Adam Bona joining us now. Good evening, sir. Thank you. We're grateful for your time. If you watch the story we just played, you will realize that the minister described the agreement as a bad one signed by the former Foreign Affairs Minister. So the key question is, if he agrees it is a bad decision, should it be sent to Parliament for ratification?
Well, I believe the previous one, which is purported to have been signed by the previous administration, is already, in place. It's something that we should the U.S. The partnership is already active, and so I don't want to believe that is what is before Parliament for consideration. I think what is before Parliament is an enhanced one that probably be looked at. But it is important to note that the general public, those of us who speak on this thing, need to be asking questions. It means there could be some of these things that the public is not privy to, because if there was one which was signed as early as 2015, and we were not privy to it. What else don't we know as a people, I mean, as a people, we have to know if that is the case. We need to know if there are many more of such agreement we are not aware of, so that's what I can say.
Right now, he's also taking a swipe on you, security experts generally, and it is asking where you were when the agreement was brought into the country in the previous administration. Why you made no comment about it, but are now expressing your views this time round. What's your take on this?
Well, I think it is unfortunate. It's unfortunate, but the point is that probably my answer to that is that the previous one was not leaked. I'm sure if the previous one was leaked, definitely we would have commented and we would have described it in the same way we are describing this one, the same way we are probably sharing our opinions. And so we need to be interrogating all of them. We need to be asking how come the previous one was not leaked and then this one, according to sources, it was leaked. And so the simple answer to the minister's question is that the previous one, the 2015 one, was never leaked. And so if it was leaked, definitely we would have commented on it, and I'm sure Ghanaians would have asked probably questions. But it is good, this one probably, and maybe it wasn't leaked because it was never brought to Parliament. But if it was brought to Parliament, somehow we would have gotten wind of it. And so, for instance, if I am aware of such a document and I'm a security analyst, you don't expect me to come and put it out there in the public gallery or in the public domain, because that would be injurious to public safety and national security.
Right.
I am amazed how this document, first of all, was put out there. And if you look at the heated debate in town, the heated debate in the country, that alone could fuel some form of attack on our soil. And even though this is some form of, this is something that has been ongoing for many, many, many years, the debate, I think, is unwarranted. It's so unwarranted, and I feel it is not right for such, the national security documents to be put out there in the public domain, even before
it is laid before Parliament. Right. Mr. Bona, we're grateful for your time. Thank you very much. I will stay on this defense agreement. We have the Executive Director of the Africa Center for Counterterrorism, Emmanuel Corton, joining us on Skype. Mr. Corton, good evening. Thank you. We're grateful that you had to wait all this while for us to get to you. But the Defense Minister thinks that you did not do anything, that is, security experts in general didn't have anything to say about the agreement. Now you're talking. What we're hearing from the security expert we just spoke to, Adam Bona, is that it's pretty unfortunate. But tell me what your thoughts are on this.
Well, thank you very much, and good evening to your very cherished listeners and viewers. In fact, like my other colleagues said, I think that statement is quite unfortunate, because if the Honorable Minister is accusing security experts of not speaking out on previous arrangements with the United States, and I want to throw the question back to him. When this agreement with the United States of America, did they involve any of the security experts? The question is no. I think he's just defending the indefensible, and I think that we cannot blame the Americans. They have stood very tall, been patriotic, and they are looking for the interests of their country. The question is, if we as Ghanaians, we are also standing tall to be counted and standing tall for our country. Don't forget, America is what it is today because they are forebearers 4,000 years ahead. So if we have people like the defense minister defending this type of agreement, are you sure we are thinking for our children, to talk of our grandchildren? I think that we need some form of education as well. And something very critical came to mind. and the minister mentioned that the Honorable Hanna Tetteh sold Ghana in 2015. So are we doing politics of equalization? The trouble is that security is one area we should never even involve politics in it. And I'm surprised that our generals are not speaking, because our generals are not speaking for obvious reasons that our security is overly politicized to the extent that certain promotions are based on political alienation. So if that is the case, you realize that even if there are things that they would talk about it, for fear of victimization, in his press release that the contractors that we are talking about are merely people who are coming to put up structures, and already the structures already exist. I beg to differ. When you talk about contractors in the security parlance, we are talking about intelligence officers, commandos, mercenaries. And these are contractors we want to allow on our land. Let me just refresh our mind. He did ask that we should mention anywhere in the world where America had bases and there have been attacks. Look at Burkina Faso. Look at Africa.
But Mr. Corton, there are 15 American bases in Germany, and Germany has not been under any terrorist attacks, despite the fact that many of these bases exist in Germany, in that country.
Those agreements are anchored on the NATO alliance. And if you look at such agreements, it's a symbiotic kind of relationship where such agreements are anchored on equal partnership. In our case, the agreement is skewed. It's totally skewed. And I asked yesterday, are you sure that if we were to juxtapose that position and ask Americans to allow Ghanaian soldiers this kind of access on their land, they would do it? They wouldn't.
Right.
And look, let us not insult our soldiers. Look at, when we talk about training, are we saying America has not got jungle warfare in their country? So if they are coming to train our soldiers, why can't our soldiers also go there to train them? Those are the basic questions.
Right,
so
Mr. Corton, I know that this discussion will go on and on and on, but I'm afraid, Mr. Corton, we're grateful for your time. Thank you very much. This is a very thorny discussion that has been ongoing for some days now. I'm Stephen Enti. This is News at 10. You're listening to us on Radio 92.7 as well, and we're streaming live on Facebook and on 3news.com. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Now, schools in Anya remain closed 3 days after a violent clash between two youth groups in the area. Also, commercial activity is yet to resume fully despite the presence of police. Here's reports by correspondent Ibrahim Abubakar.
One person was killed and several others sustained cutlass wounds on Monday when two youth groups in Anya clashed. The violent clash led to a temporary closure of schools and halted commercial activities in the area. Security has also been beefed to ensure law and order. Despite the presence of the security, business activities are yet to pick up when the news team visited the area Wednesday morning. Few stores had been opened whilst the rest remained closed. Academic work in both private and public schools are yet to resume. Municipal Chief Executive of Kwabre East, Nana Osei Esibebunsu, is hopeful effective academic work will resume tomorrow.
We've identified a place which is being used as the house of the criminals. So we resolved that we cut down the trees over the whole place so that they don't have any other place to hide.
The Kwabre East Municipal Security Council engaged with community leaders to deliberate on the way forward in bringing lasting peace to the area. The council has tasked the resident to expose all the criminals in the area for the law to deal with them.
Now, the minority in Parliament is blaming government for Unibank's insolvency. Minority spokesperson on finance, Keso Atuforson, says government is gradually ceding the financial sector to foreigners, which he says should be condemned.
Atuforson said it is unacceptable for government to allow the largest indigenous bank to collapse. He regretted UT and Capital banks collapsed under the watch of this same government.
Recently, we were told that UT Bank and Capital Bank that collapsed costed the taxpayer an amount of 2 billion Ghana cedis. Look, Unibank is bigger than UT and Capital Bank put together, or it's about the same size. So if that will cost us 2 billion cedis, then this one is also going to cost us 2 billion cedis. The two put together, the taxpayer, you and I, we are going to spend 4 billion Ghana cedis, 2% of GDP, in servicing this debt. And the government is supervising this bank to collapse.
He was worried the financial sector was being ceded to foreigners.
I'm aware of another bank that is in a serious problem than this. Today, nobody can tell me that jobs will not be lost. Another bank will take over Unibank, mark it on the wall in the next 6 months, even before then. It cannot be true that within 6 months they will turn around this bank. If they claim that the capital adequacy ratio has gone to -24, and they are saying that technically insolvent, how can they do it in 24 months, in 6 months? If it can be done in 6 months, they've been in this administration for how many months? This is their 15th month in office. Are they telling us they can't save a bank? There's a government that proud themselves of saying that they are basically business friendly and all of that.
But Chairman of the Finance Committee, Dr. Mark Esibe-Yabua, defended the Bank of Ghana is doing a lot for the indigenous banks, adding the bank acted appropriately.
Since 2016, August 2016, the Bank of Ghana realized that Unibank was in trouble. In the case of UT Bank and Capital Bank, the Bank of Ghana could have liquidated those banks, but they said that, GCB should take over in a purchase and assumption offer. So the Bank of Ghana had injected about 1.6 billion into UT and Capital. This is our money.
He said the issue of Unibank could be as a result of its numerous subsidiaries.
Corporate management issues, okay? It is for my father, so I am the managing director and I'm loaning out to, they venture into things. The Bank of Ghana should have moved in a long time ago, okay? They should have moved in a long time ago, but you see, if they go along this path, every month another bank will go.
He was hopeful the bank will be revived in 6 months.
And that's how we'll wrap up with News at 10. Thank you very much for staying. On behalf of the crew, good night. Up next is Sports Unlimited.